Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of Socinianism, a radical branch of the Protestant Reformation that emerged in the 16th century. Socinianism, named after its founders Fausto Sozzini and his uncle Lelio Sozzini, challenged the orthodox Christian doctrines of the time. We'll explore its history, core beliefs, and religious practices. So let's embark on this journey to understand a movement that significantly impacted theological thought and religious freedom. To understand Socinianism, we must first look at the broader context of the Protestant Reformation. The Reformation, initiated by figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin, sought to reform the Roman Catholic Church's practices and doctrines. Amid this turbulent period, various groups emerged, each advocating for different theological perspectives. One of these groups was the Italian anti-Trinitarians, from whom Socinianism developed. Lelio Sozzini, an Italian humanist, began questioning traditional Christian doctrines around the mid-16th century. His nephew, Fausto Sozzini, further developed these ideas after Lelio's death. Fausto moved to Poland, a region known for its relative religious tolerance, and became involved with the Polish Brethren, a non-Trinitarian Christian group. The Socinian movement grew within this community, gaining followers and establishing itself as a distinct theological tradition. Let's break down some of its core beliefs. Socinians rejected the doctrine of the Trinity, arguing that it was not supported by Scripture. They believed in the unity of God and viewed Jesus Christ as a divinely inspired human rather than God incarnate. As well, they emphasized the use of reason in interpreting the Bible. They believed that religious truths should be comprehensible to human reason and rejected any doctrines that seemed irrational or contradictory. Unlike traditional Christianity, which teaches that Jesus' death was a substitutionary atonement for humanity's sins, Socinians viewed Jesus' death as a moral example. They believed that Jesus' life and teachings showed the way to salvation through moral improvement and obedience to God's will. Socinians held the Bible in high regard, but interpreted it differently from other Protestant groups. They rejected the idea of inherent biblical inerrancy and believed that the Scriptures should be understood in their historical and cultural context. In addition, Socinians strongly advocated for human free will. They opposed the Calvinist doctrine of predestination, arguing that humans have the capacity to choose between good and evil and are responsible for their own salvation. The religious practices of the Socinians reflected their theological beliefs and emphasis on rationality and moral living. Socinian worship services were straightforward and focused on scripture reading, preaching, and prayer. They avoided elaborate rituals and ceremonies, aligning with their belief in simplicity and rationality. They often lived in close-knit communities where they could support each other in their faith and moral pursuits. These communities emphasized mutual aid, education, and moral discipline. They also practiced adult baptism, believing that individuals should make a conscious decision to follow Christ. Their view of communion was symbolic, seeing it as a memorial of Jesus' life and teachings rather than a literal transformation of the elements. A significant aspect of Socinian practice was the emphasis on ethical living. They believed that true faith manifested in moral actions and that salvation was achieved through following Jesus' example and teachings. Although Socinianism faced significant opposition and persecution, its impact on religious thought and freedom was profound. In the 17th century, Socinians were forced to flee Poland due to increasing persecution from both Catholic and Protestant authorities. Many found refuge in the Netherlands and England, where their ideas continued to influence theological and philosophical debates. Socinianism contributed to the development of Unitarianism, a movement that emerged in the 18th century and shared many of its core beliefs, including the rejection of the Trinity and the emphasis on rational religion. The Socinian emphasis on reason and moral living also anticipated Enlightenment ideas, influencing thinkers who advocated for religious tolerance, individual conscience, and the separation of church and state. Moreover, Socinian ideas helped lay the groundwork for modern liberal theology. which often emphasizes human reason, ethical living, and a more metaphorical interpretation of religious texts. Socinianism was a bold and radical movement that challenged the established religious doctrines of its time. Through its emphasis on reason, free will, and ethical living, it left a lasting legacy on Christian theology and the broader landscape of religious thought. By understanding Socinianism, we gain insight into the diverse and dynamic history of the Reformation and the ongoing quest for religious truth and freedom. Thanks for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into historical and theological topics. See you next time.